In the world of international trade, stability is often taken for granted. Behind every shipment and handshake lies a delicate web of agreements, trust, and mutual benefit, one that can unravel with surprising speed. Decades-old relationships, built on years of cooperation, can shift overnight, leaving both sides scrambling to adapt to new realities. Today, September 19, 2025, North America faces what many are calling the corn crisis. But this isn't a story of failed crops or natural disaster. It's a crisis born from political maneuvering and economic brinkmanship. Aggressive U.S. trade tariffs, designed to shield American interests, have instead pushed Mexico, America's longtime corn customer, to spend $5.7 billion on Canadian corn, bypassing the U.S. entirely. This seismic shift has left the agricultural community reeling. Farmers who once relied on steady demand from Mexico now face a future clouded by uncertainty and fear for their livelihoods. For generations, U.S. corn flowed reliably to Mexico, anchoring a vital economic partnership that supported rural communities and fueled growth on both sides of the border. Now that flow is disrupted. American farmers, once confident in their largest export market, are left watching as trucks sit idle and contracts dry up. The tariffs, intended as a bargaining chip, have backfired, opening the door for competitors, leaving U.S. silos overflowing, and casting doubt on the future of American agriculture. As we explore this crisis, we'll uncover how a single policy decision can ripple through entire industries, upending livelihoods and reshaping the economic landscape of a continent. The Great Corn Diversion is more than just a headline. It marks a pivotal turning point for North American trade, with consequences that will be felt for years to come. To grasp the crisis unfolding today, we need to look back at the intertwined histories of two nations and their shared dependence on a single crop, corn. The U.S.-Mexico corn trade isn't just about economics, it's about livelihoods, traditions, and the evolution of entire communities on both sides of the border. For decades, the United States has been Mexico's primary supplier of corn, shipping millions of tons each year to meet growing demand. This relationship was cemented by trade agreements like NAFTA in the 1990s and later the USMCA, which opened borders and encouraged agricultural exchange. Every year, billions of dollars worth of corn crossed the border, creating a vast, interconnected supply chain that stretched from American farms to Mexican dinner tables. This trade supported not only American farmers but also Mexico's massive livestock industry, which relies on corn for animal feed. The agricultural heartland of the Midwest was shaped by this export market, with generations of farmers depending on Mexican demand to sustain their way of life. Railways, ports, trucking companies, and grain elevators all became vital links in a cross-border chain, moving corn from field to feedlot with remarkable efficiency. In Mexico, corn is more than a commodity. It's a symbol of heritage, a staple of daily meals, and the foundation of countless traditional foods. Yet despite its cultural importance, domestic production couldn't keep pace with the needs of a growing population and expanding livestock sector. The influx of affordable U.S. corn became the backbone of Mexico's food system, fueling both tortillas on the table and the growth of its meat industry. This deep integration made the recent rupture in trade all the more shocking, sending ripples of uncertainty through both nations. Tariffs, political disputes, and shifting policies have fractured trust, leaving farmers and businesses scrambling to adapt. What was once a story of cross-border cooperation has become a cautionary tale, highlighting the fragility of even the most established partnerships. The once unthinkable break in this vital relationship is now a reality, forcing both countries to confront an uncertain future. The upheaval began with a dramatic shift in U.S. trade policy under the Trump administration, marking a turning point that would ripple across borders and industries. For decades, the United States had championed free trade, forging agreements that linked economies and fostered cooperation. But now, a new approach was taking shape, one that prioritized American interests above all else, regardless of the consequences for global partners. Tariffs, taxes on imports, were imposed to protect American industries but hit closest allies hardest. These sweeping measures targeted goods from countries that had long been considered friends, not foes, sending shockwaves through established trading relationships. Canada faced a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum. Industries that had supplied the U.S. for generations suddenly found themselves on the defensive, scrambling to adapt to the new reality. Mexico, meanwhile, was hit with a 25% tariff on pharmaceuticals, and the threat of even broader tariffs loomed over its economy. Factories and workers braced for impact, uncertain about what the future would hold. This climate of uncertainty made business planning nearly impossible across North America. Companies hesitated to invest, unsure if their supply chains would remain intact, or if new barriers would emerge overnight. The America First approach aimed to boost domestic production, but ignored the reality of integrated supply chains. Modern manufacturing depends on parts and materials crossing borders multiple times before reaching consumers. Retaliation was swift. Canada and Mexico imposed their own tariffs, targeting U.S. agriculture. Long-standing partnerships were tested as each country sought to protect its own interests. American farm goods, including corn, became collateral damage in a trade war meant to protect them. Farmers who once relied on stable export markets now faced plummeting demand and falling prices. The result, a self-inflicted crisis threatening one of America's most vital sectors. Rural communities felt the strain as uncertainty and financial losses mounted. The tariff storm, meant to shield, instead exposed American agriculture's vulnerabilities, leaving farmers and businesses searching for answers in a rapidly changing world. Facing unpredictable U.S. policy, Mexico made a historic pivot, signing a $5.7 billion corn deal with Canada. This wasn't a minor shift, but a strategic move to diversify and reduce reliance on the U.S. Tariffs and threats made U.S. corn risky. Canadian corn, though logistically challenging, offered stability. Canada, eager to fill the gap, moved quickly to meet Mexico's needs, turning crisis into opportunity. For Mexico, the deal secured a vital commodity from a more predictable partner and signaled a new era of independence. The agreement formalized a deeper Canada-Mexico partnership, reshaping North American trade dynamics. This was both a business decision and a geopolitical statement. Mexico would not remain captive to U.S. policy. The corn deal made the realignment tangible, with immediate consequences for American farmers. News of Mexico's corn deal with Canada hit the American heartland hard. Corn prices plunged and farmers faced a surplus with nowhere to sell. The entire supply chain, grain elevators, railways, ports, felt the shock as business evaporated. Jobs disappeared and rural communities suffered. Many farmers were forced to sell at a loss or pay for costly storage, pushing some to the brink of bankruptcy. Federal aid offered little comfort. Farmers wanted stable markets, not handouts. Frustration and anger grew as promises of prosperity gave way to one of the worst market disruptions in memory. Trust in government eroded, and farmers realized their fate was tied to unpredictable politics as much as the land. The corn crisis exposed the vulnerability of an industry built on global connections. As the U.S. turned inward, Canada and Mexico forged a powerful new alliance. Once competitors for U.S. favor, they now built a partnership that bypassed the U.S., creating a new axis in North America. In September 2025, leaders announced a comprehensive strategic partnership. Regular meetings, economic coordination, and joint security efforts. Direct trade links are being developed, with new investments in Mexican ports to facilitate shipping with Canada. The corn deal is just the start. Canadian investment in Mexico's energy and mining sectors is rising. Bilateral trade is booming, and both nations are less dependent on the U.S. than ever before. This alliance isn't framed as anti-American but as a pragmatic response to uncertainty. Together they're building a resilient North American trade network, reshaping the continent's economic map. The corn crisis has shattered the assumption that the U.S. will always dominate regional agriculture. Losing the Mexican market shows that loyalty can vanish amid instability. American farmers now face a tougher, more unpredictable global market and must seek new buyers or diversify crops. Even if relations normalize, trust is broken, and Mexico's new supply chains are here to stay. The upcoming USMCA review will be complicated by a united Canada-Mexico front. U.S. leverage has diminished and the future of the trade pact is uncertain. The lessened protectionist policies can backfire, harming those they aim to help. America's agricultural future depends on rebuilding trust and embracing cooperation, not confrontation. The Great Corn Diversion is a cautionary tale for North American trade. Long-standing relationships aren't indestructible. Trust and predictability are essential. When economic power is wielded as a weapon, partners look elsewhere. The US learned its indispensable role could be replaced. Tariffs meant to protect one sector can devastate another, as retaliation ripples through supply chains. Canada and Mexico's alliance shows that middle powers can reshape the continent's balance. North America is now a multipolar system, not a US-centered hub. The USMCA review will test whether fractured relationships can be repaired. For American agriculture, recovery will require agility, diversification, and a renewed commitment to open trade. The ultimate lesson: building bridges is more profitable than building walls. The future depends on the choices made now.